Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to another live stream of Shadowverse. So, Monday, I accidentally had it set to private, so the stream for Monday was not visible to anyone, even though I did stream. There we go, we've got... Sorry about that. Let's just start all over here. My phone was having trouble, to say the least, with YouTube, and so I had a YouTube video that looked like it wasn't going to start playing, and then I closed my phone and it locked, and then it decided to start playing. So yeah, anyways, the Monday stream is now public, so go check that out after this stream. Not a lot to happen that day, although I did have a AFK moment certainly in that stream too, which that seems to happen more and more as I age, where I'm just running off to take a bathroom break. But yeah. For the accountability section, and in general, one of the things I want to do is have some leftover stuff happen, leftover games. So particularly on Friday, I think we're gonna go kind of at a hard out, closer to 2.5 hours instead of going 3 hours, and making sure all the games that we talk about are done, because Monday's streams are just consistently a little short, and that kind of sucks. Yeah, I've made some tweaks on my Wi-Fi where it kind of is better, but not exactly. Instead of just hard failing, it kind of tries a little bit more. Honestly, I still think a lot of it is just my phone. And if I could find 5 seconds in which I'm not buying something else, there's been just a ton of slickdeals.net sales in the past couple days. I would start to think about saving up for a new phone. Let's see. Yeah, I was talking about the accountability section. We need Swordcraft or Shadowcraft and Arena Run. So let's start with that. And then we also would want to open some packets. So let's start with that. We have, I've been playing Pinball Arcade. I have, I believe, 3 plus 8 would be 11, 12 games theoretically to play, although 4 of those games I haven't actually purchased, so my evaluation on an unpurchased game is limited to whatever the demo mode lets me look at. These look like new cards. I imagine a lot of them are new cards. Let's see, let's go ahead and open this pack from the previous expansion. Let's see. And I desperately need to be finished with Pinball Arcade so I can upload the last bit of those videos, and then I can upload a ton of Shadowverse videos. I still need to do a ton of scheduling. Also, so there's tons of work. But yeah, I've just been playing Pinball Arcade over the past couple days, and really getting into pinball, that, and watching a lot of YouTube of pinball too. So I really haven't been just playing it. I've been watching a lot of other people play real world pinball set tables and fantasizing, and I can't really call it anything more than fantasizing about playing real world pinball, or owning a real world pinball table. In theory, ooh, a redundant legendary for 1,000. In theory, I have enough knowledge and skill to maintain a pinball table, but I don't know if I have the energy or the money really to maintain a pinball table. And I kind of hate to own a table, something that should be probably in museums at this point, real museums behind glass, not touched by random people. Like, I don't really know if anybody should be owning them and trying to maintain them to make them playable, or at a certain point, then you maybe it is just better for society if the originals don't end up in museums and instead get scanned, 3D printed, or made into holograms, so that they can remake and release them, which there is a few. There is at least one company that is kind of doing that, like just remaking old tables, and I would be very happy to own a remake of an old table instead of the original of an old pinball table, because I would hope that would mean it would be designed a little bit more with modern technology and a little bit easier to find parts for and replace parts for. But there's really no major guarantee that that's the case. The tables I covered were, well, most recently was Starship Troopers, and I just kind of absolutely hated that table. It's one of two Sega tables that we've seen before Stern bought Sega's pinball division, and inherently I don't enjoy Starship Troopers as a movie, so that has no selling point. But even stepping back from Starship Troopers as a movie and the theme of the table, it is a pinball table with a third flipper just to the right of the right flipper for no good reason, and I've seen only one other table do that, and I didn't like it that time either. 20 different cards with different names on your deck. Well, apparently I don't have that. So, I have no idea why that card is in play. Starship Troopers with that third flipper is wider, so the slingshots are further apart, which ruins the expected experience you would have for any table, and it leaves this lower playfield just completely empty, and then the rest of the table really does not make up for that in any way, because then the next everything in the upper playfield is really just a loop to the left, a left ramp, a center lane shot that just bounces the balls into 3 pop-up bumpers with like 3 rollover to spell bug, and then there's a ramp to the right and a loop to the right. There's one far left sinkhole, and that's about it. And there's some standing targets on the middle of the table on the left and right. So I was just kind of thoroughly unimpressed with the table design in itself. It has a pop-up brain bug from Starship Troopers that is just this like square toy that pops up, and you hit it and you knock it back down, and there's nothing special there. It's a giant waste of space. There is a pushback multi-ball target that you have to hit 3 times to push it backwards to start the multi-ball, and it takes a huge amount of space also. Do this, and then then what? Evolve, I suppose.
Are you as excited as I am? Well, are you? Go! Go! If you want me to hurt you, just say the word.
Hit this.
Check out my fancy footwork.
Okay. Well, I boned that up, I think. No, yeah, I did. I could have attacked. I could have attacked and killed that after the fact. There's like no new voice lines in Starship Troopers, no callouts, no new character telling you where to shoot or what to aim for. All you're doing in the 5 modes, there's like 2 multi-ball modes, and then there's 5 planets. Each planet gives you a number of bugs you have to hit. The bugs correspond to a bunch of standing targets of different colors. It's so colorful considering how Starship Troopers is mostly black and orange in its color palette. That it really is just like red, green, and blue and yellow for no good reason. And they just use lines of dialogue from the movie, and that's fine. They do skip over the co-ed shower scene, but because Starship Troopers as a movie is a parody, and it glorifies violence, and and if you don't get that it's a parody glorifying violence and glorifying a militaristic scheme to keep the control of the civilians by taking away their civilian rights unless they join the military, and then putting them in these endless wars that they start so that they can have like a 90% casualty rate to eliminate overpopulation. There's just kind of some high-minded thoughts there, and they get ignored by or overlooked by a lot of people that like Starship Troopers, I feel. And yeah, there's pop-up bumpers with blood on the table. Me personally, I would much prefer a 16 or 17-year-old to play Elvira's Scared Stiff, which has all kinds of visual puns and dirty sex jokes. I'd much prefer them to play that with Elvira showing her cleavage than Starship Troopers. So that limits your audience. Now, some people I think would argue that pinball was always for adults. I don't think a new generation of pinball exists if it's for adults. And the table I played before that was Medieval Madness, and kind of the same thing. It is oddly not kid appropriate for something that would look like it should be super kid appropriate. There is a Merlin reward sinkhole in Medieval Madness. When you land it, sometimes Merlin goes, "I'm mother bleeping Merlin," and it bleeps it, but I mean it's still there, and still obvious that he's cussing. There's like several stereotypical damsels, and like 80s Valley Girl is probably fine, but then nebbish Jewish damsel like is probably not the stereotypical characterization that you'd want to play. And then there's like a bad guy that's French, so yeah, they had the voice actor do a bad French accent. Maybe that's fine, maybe it's not. I guess it's probably all fine, really, but it doesn't feel super kid friendly. It doesn't feel like Shrek, where you could potentially have had a Disneyified Medieval Madness with some slight tweaks, because the general theme is actually pretty good for Medieval Madness. Now, the shots on Medieval Madness as a table are not as good as I'd like them to be, and that inherently is why I don't feel like Medieval Madness for my personal list deserves to be in the top 10, because there just are several shots that are incredibly difficult to pull off. And Medieval Madness is a table that's gotten that remake treatment, but they're just remaking it the same way. They're just re-releasing the same thing, basically. They're not changing any angles or improving upon it. And I think a lot of pinball tables with tweaks and modifications would be a lot better. A lot of tables are a lot better if you just get them away from their factory settings. Unfortunately, Pinball Arcade crashes more times than it doesn't when you try to get when you try to have the have Pinball Arcade emulate with different settings than the default settings. Medieval Madness has a toy castle that blows up in the center shots, and that takes up a lot of space for what it offers. I think you could scale that down a little bit. It has two trolls that pop up from under the playfield, and they're nice, but I think you probably would want them closer to the pop-up bumpers. And the final shot in the final wizard mode, which I cheated all the way to get to the wizard mode, involves shooting the ball perfectly in between the two trolls, and you're just never going to pull that off. And the ball control cheat method in Pinball Arcade is so broken that I couldn't even cheat it with that function. There are more. There's room for more in Medieval Madness as a table, because it kind of has that same standard fan layout as a lot of tables, whereas a left ramp and a right ramp and a left loop and a right loop, and then a couple center lane shots. Top right has the pop-up bumpers with the overlay, with the rollover spelling of I don't even remember what you spell in Medieval Madness. There's a sinkhole. There's a sinkhole on the far left and a sinkhole kind of center right. And some standing targets. But with the exception of the pop-up trolls and the castle that takes up a lot of space, there's no other gimmicks to it. And like a lot of tables, when you get into different modes in Medieval Madness, the modes are fairly similar. There is a video mode in Medieval Madness, but you're highly unlikely to ever see it. So there's not so much of a reason for it to even exist. It's definitely one of those tables that if some of the standing targets or shooting the ramp 5 times started other missions or did damage to the castle towards your main goal, if there was just a duplicate way to accomplish your goal, it would be nicer and it would be more easier to accomplish. Whereas a lot of pinball tables, you have to get that one shot and that one shot only. Sometimes some pinball tables, the gameplay will just come to a screeching halt if you can't get that one shot. Which brings me to the game before that, which is No Good Gophers, which is the Caddyshack inspired golf pinball game, and yeah, I don't really have any love in my heart for Candy Shack, so I wasn't that interested in the theme. I feel like the table design for No Good Gophers is pretty awful. It has a center lane jump that jumps the ball up to this upper playfield that kind of has nothing on it. It's just a bunch of plastic to make sure that the air ball at that point, once it had jumped, isn't going to break something. Otherwise, there's just like 2 standing targets and a sinkhole in that area on the upper playfield. Below that upper playfield, there's a tiny sinkhole that you have to hit over and over and over again as your main goal. A center lane ramp that is kind of odd in its angle, and a right ramp that's kind of odd in its angle. So locking down those shots was pretty difficult. Let's just go ahead and play this.
Check this out. Where should I drop this light?
Hit that. The center lane and right ramp have sneak in ramps that will raise up, showing 2 gophers, like the 2 trolls in Medieval Madness. You hit the 2 gophers to knock them back down. Then you shoot the ball behind where the 2 pop-up gophers were that are under the ramp to sink the ball to lock ball 1 and 2 for multi-ball. Let's see. Guess we do this. You are, since it's a golf themed game, you're trying to hit the sinkhole in the middle of the field, slightly center left, 9 times plus to do 9 rounds of golf. Then there's a sideways ramp that you can only hit with an upper right flipper. And then there's a kickback that kicks the ball, and you'd think it would hit to the upper right flipper, but it actually is so random where it bounces the ball, unlike every other kickback I've ever seen, which is incredibly consistent as to where it kicks the ball, that sometimes the kickback will hit the right flipper and bounce away. Sometimes it'll go all the way up the right loop that feeds into the upper right flipper. Sometimes they will just bounce in all kinds of different places. On the sides of No Good Golfers is a blue transparent plastic upper rails draining to the in lanes, which I don't know why it's blue. There's a lower left sinkhole, like the other 2 games. They're really copying each other a little too much, back to back. And there's like a secondary sinkhole to the left that shoots the ball across to the right where some standing flippers are. 4 damage. And then rush. 3 damage. 2, 4 damage. 6, 7, 8.
Be seeing ya.
There we go. Guess that was our best bet.
Think it might be hammer time.
Yeah, there were some other things to No Good Gophers. There's like 3 really squashed
Ranger of the forest.
pop-up bumpers on the left, and there's a ejector at the top that seems to be the only ejector in the game, and it ejects it to the pop-up bumpers, and then when you're at the bottom of the pop-up bumpers, there's this incredibly tight 2 pegs that the ball has to lose all momentum and bounce in between until it slowly rolls down into the 2 in-lane lanes, which there's really no reason for there to be 2 in-lane lanes for no good gophers. It is just another table that unfortunately is not quite that great. And then before that table, I played, I think, Circus Voltaire, which is a fairly empty table. It feels like what it should have been is a Cirque du Soleil table if you were going to make a modern version of that, and you'd have like video of some of the Cirque du Soleil plays playing. But it's like this French style circus, and there's on the right a loop all the way around to the left, and then further to the right of that in the lower right are 2 pop-up bumpers, and then there's a hidden in the ground 3rd pop-up bumper that you have to trigger to make it pop up to make a triangle as far as 3 pop-up bumpers. To the right of the right loop is a horseshoe, and inside this horseshoe is 3 standing targets that you have to hit to light, and when you do, a magnet in the center of that half circle area will grab the ball, and when it grabs the ball and it's been spelled 3 times, it raises that entire center part of the playfield to reveal it's the top of the hat of a ringmaster, which is this kind of Jack-in-the-Box character. It looks like the Green Goblin, really. And it's attached by a spring, and it shakes all over the place to eventually release the magnet and have the ball released somewhere on the playfield. And there's several different places it can fall, and so I imagine that probably eventually chipped a lot of pieces of plastic. To the right of that whole mess, which is just like the entire right half of the table, is the ringmaster. You have 1 ramp on the entire table that goes up, and then to the right into this secondary magnetic disc that can either shoot the ball back to a different ramp to lock the ball for multi-ball, or just lets it go all the way to the right loop, which inherently puts you in this loop where you can only go in circles and circles and circles to actually try and do anything. You can either hit the left ramp with the right flipper, or you can go to the left loop and then loop the ball around, and then it just ends up on the right flipper again. There's no way to make any shot where you're guaranteed to get it to the left flipper, which is almost fine because there are no shots on the left flipper for Circus Voltaire anyways. Far to the left of the on the left side, in the lower left side, there's a larger ball, kind of like a bouncy ball, that is inside a steel cage, and you have to just shoot the ball strong enough to either bounce that ball out of the way or just get lucky to avoid hitting that ball so that you can hit a single standing target behind it. But there really is not anything going on at all with the table, which is ridiculous because there's 9 different missions, and the fact that there's 9 different missions is actually shocking. You activate, I would say, 4 to 6 of them by shooting the left ramp enough to activate a diverter into a sinkhole. The back glass, the backboard of Circus Voltaire, has this like pinball that you shoot up and it hits a bell and then it hits a spinner, and then you just try to do that over and over again, and it really doesn't make any more sense than that. But yeah, you just end up doing that over and over and over again.
Check out my fancy footwork.
And you activate that by hitting the sinkhole. You activate a whole bunch of different modes by hitting the sinkhole.
I'll hit the vanguard.
There's a few more things you have to do, which are fairly simplistic. And
I've been keeping
after
this
that,
in reserve.
after you've done all 9 of the
I wasn't good enough.
9 of the modes, you start drawing the circus mode, which is a fairly easy wizard mode for pinball to get to. In fact, if I personally am getting to a wizard mode in pinball, it's too easy because I shouldn't be able to. I shouldn't be that good of a player, particularly playing with a Xbox One controller. Let's see.
Where should I drop this lightning bolt?
And I don't think there are any more tables I didn't talk about. Like, before Circus Voltaire was one of the good tables, but I can't immediately think of what. It was like the first one on the row is Junkyard, and I definitely talked about that on Monday. Let's do this. Do this. Do this. Do that. I'm starting to yawn. Yeah, I can't think of any more tables, so I think I've covered everything that I am going to be able to cover. I think I talked about them all.
Your hypersonic gal is here. Your hypersonic gal is here. I lost.
It once again just kind of highlights that I'm only managing to make about 4 hours of content per day. If I'm taking some days off and 2 hours to 3 hours of content is airing every day, it's very easy to fall behind, let alone the scheduling issue. Yeah, we also are losing like crazy. Alright, so let's just talk about the video game news, and then we'll call it a stream because I'm already sleepy. It was a mistake to play 2 games this morning before streaming. I knew that, but I really wanted to play pinball. And inherently, even if I dislike a lot of the pinball tables or the way it's being presented through Pinball Arcade, I'm still super deep into the whim of playing pinball at the moment. I could see myself even taking a few extra hours here and there to get back to pinball and play Pinball Arcade a little bit more instead of just sitting on it and not doing anything for years. That being said, I've also know there's other games that I want to move on to and cover. So, yep. I probably won't have the time. Do this.
I won't hurt you. Too much.
And then
Get ready to
just
fly.
attack there and wait, or play. I think you play.
Bestow a crimson kiss.
Hmm. So here we have a Gamma Sutra article. Call of Duty Warzone has topped 100 million players in just over a year, which that's not directly connected to them claiming to own the phrase Warzone, but I think it probably will play a part.
Get ready to fly.
Hit that. Hit that. Attack here. The biggest news of today is the Overwatch game director Jeff Kaplan is leaving Blizzard after 19 years. I think he also had some other roles in Blizzard, or multiple Blizzard employees have left in the past 48 hours. It's not super surprising though to see that people are abandoning ship as far as Blizzard. Although arguably, like, Jeff Kaplan after 19 years at Blizzard means that he was there both during the good times and the later bad times, so I don't know if a 19-year-old old dog programmer or director has any new tricks to move to a new company, or does he just move to a new company and try to make Overwatch again, which arguably Overwatch in itself did not succeed as well as I think it should have.
Are you as excited as I am? Well, are you?
Do I want to kill?
Go! Go! If you want me to hurt you, just say the word. Are you as excited as I am? Well, are you? My hand slipped. That ought to do it. I'm so excited.
So yeah, I don't know if it means anything.
How dare you? How dare you?
Well, we're also in this kind of weird position where a Blizzard may just not be able to succeed at all in modern times as far as video games are concerned. It may be that
I'm gonna scoop out
that we are now in a different kind of era where Microsoft and Nintendo are going to be the only companies that are big enough. Them and Embracer Group are only going to be big enough, and maybe Tencent to actually make any games. And everybody else is going to go for smaller scale online type experiences or mobile type experiences.
I lost. You're tough.
And see, if that's the biggest news, and I don't even really care about it, that kind of goes to show how little news there is. Now, what I do find upsetting is that I just lost 5 games here. 30 goals, not qualified for the final stage. Alright. Let's come back home and check the missions and see if we can try something different. Swordcraft and Shadowcraft. That was Bloodcraft anyways. Even if I had one, I would have failed miserably. Alright. Unranked. Rotation. Shadowcraft. Well, instead of editing that deck, let's see if we can instead go and find the tournament winner of Shadowcraft. Tournament winning decks. Shadowcraft. This. Copy deck. And then, how many cards do I not have? 7. Okay. So that gets me 7 cards. And let's just auto. You know what? That works. Let's see. We'll type in just tourney, but honestly that's a terrible name, and I do need to change it later on and adapt a better better system here as to putting what month a deck is. That way we can, or what season. Alright, well, whatever. Ranked rotation. That gives us something different to try. And it probably takes us several steps closer to a decent deck than whatever random garbage I've built. Otherwise, as decks go. I wanted to point out Epic Game Store now accepts 13 new currencies. Here's the list, or you can check it out yourself if you're interested. I suppose that's news. It's not a lot of news. See, Gamasutra has a blog why I decided to go to a publisher after 10 months of single-handedly developing a game. Which, alright. I can see a real reason to go to a publisher, but also looking at this game, it looks like a total Minecraft player versus player clone garbage game, so I kind of would like to see the publisher say, we have no need for this kind of game, there's far too much competition, and it's not high quality enough. And I would have liked to have seen that the developer had that same idea and wouldn't have developed the game in the first place, but that is certainly asking a lot, as it were, and seems like that is not the way business is done by a lot of people, and they do make these kind of low effort games. Speaking of low effort games, we have a game on Steam here called Control Override, which is tagged as a puzzle platformer. I don't really see anything here interesting enough to make me want to play it. Seems like you suck the direction code into your block to decide which direction you're going to go. $2.69, English only. Let's see. TechRaptor has another article for Nutaku, the adult game platform. Let's see. There's a game called Long Lost Lust, which looks to be an RPG game with cartoon girls in scantily clad clothing. I think we can give this screenshot a general depiction of what's going on here, as far as you've got like squirrel girls and then several different fantasy characters. I'm still playing College Days from Nutaku, but there's really no reason for me to be still playing it. I'm just wasting time. Hey, well, speaking of wasting time, at least I got me a free victory.
I did it! I won!
Which that is way more appreciated than you would think. I have really no reason to talk about Nutaku games. Really, they're just so bad, and so single-minded as far as trying to have in-app purchases and charge people big amounts of money for very little amounts of content. See, the irony there is that the parent company that owns Nutaku also owns Pornhub, and Pornhub, until at least very recently, really only had success in the fact that it was kind of like YouTube, where a bunch of random people were putting in a bunch of varying levels of content on their site for free, and thus anyone who goes to Pornhub looking for porn is deluged with good free content. But you kind of don't have that with Nutaku, because the games usually require you to grind a ton before you can see any nudity, and the amount of nudity is ridiculously small. The writing and the dialogue is no better than any other porn, and so that it's not good quality. Compare that to, say, Honey Pop, where you have to play a lot of game to the point where you actually like the game, but you still get a decent amount of scenes, or a visual novel where you get a lot of dialogue, but a good visual novel is also written well enough that that's what you're looking for and that's what you want. Let's see, moving on. Earthbreaker's release date has been delayed indefinitely, which I don't even know what Earthbreakers is. Guess we could go look at it on Steam. Let's see. It's supposed to be a real-time strategy game with first-person shooting perspective. Interesting. Online PvP to be announced. In a lot of ways, what they're doing there is they're getting a second push of news media, news cycle around changing their release date. TechRaptor has an article here. Super Seducer did make that NFT non-fungible token with a limited edition Switch ROM, although wouldn't you then have to have a ROM emulator to actually play it? Which both Nintendo and Steam said they would not sell this because it had real-world nudity in it, and they just didn't want to go down that route, or real-world actors in it in close enough to actual pornographic manner that they would, that Steam would call it pornographic. So, yeah. He said he was going to do it. He did it. That doesn't, I guess, inherently mean anybody's going to pay for it, or pay anywhere as much as you would have to sell it for to make up the random amount of money you would have spent developing Super Seducer 3, because I've seen the trailers of it. It's not like they didn't have cameras and they didn't have lighting and they didn't have actors. So there had to have been at least, I'd say, $10,000 minimum spent developing Super Seducer 3, and I wouldn't be surprised if it was, if the prices kind of skyrocketed much higher than that to $10 million even. Let's see. Here we have a game on Steam called Crash Auto Drive, which looks to be like a visual novel slash mystery game. Let's see. $7.99 English only. I'll put it on the follow list. Being a visual novel slash adventure, it's going to take some time to see if people actually review it and like it. I have to kind of applaud this art style. Well, it's trying to be its own thing. It's trying to be Western. It doesn't look terrible. Yeah. I think there's definitely some quality there, where often we see just total garbage as far as visual novel animation or animation in general for video games. Next we have a game on Steam called Neon Gravel, which looks like a frustration platformer, so I'm immediately uninterested. $1.99, several languages. There is certainly an argument that my level of curation when looking at games that I want to cover is kind of subjective and biased, and there may have been an article here and there that I wouldn't be surprised if even 1% of all the articles that happen between every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday stream, wouldn't be surprised if 1% of those links I just glaze my eyes over and don't even click on because I'm not interested. I try to show every single game that comes out on Steam, but even in showing them, you know that I reject almost all of those games, and they don't even make it to the follow list, let alone any further.
I'm coming for detestable.
Should have been quicker.
I don't know if that was the right move.
Detestable.
Let's see, TechRaptor has this article, Hobo Tough Life Storage Guide, which apparently is some game, but I'm not sure where you can even play it.
It won't be long now.
Apparently it's not out yet. Yeah, I don't think that game is out. I seriously doubt I would want to play a game where I am simulating living the life of a homeless person, which is not what hobo used to mean, but I guess that's what it means now. 2 to all enemy followers.
I just want to fill the emptiness.
Alright, well, hit that.
You wouldn't.
See, Gamma Sutra has an article. Thunder Lotus Cozy Management Sim Spitfire has topped 500,000 sales. Gamma Sutra has Apogee Software has rebooted as Apogee Entertainment, vows to boost the odds for indies, which is funny because I don't feel like Apogee Software has published or made a game in a very long time, so I don't know if they want to be a publisher now. They worked on Duke Nukem Prey, Max Payne. Their most recently published game was that game Ion Fury, which I don't think that that game sold particularly well. Originally it was, I think, called Iron Maiden, and the band Iron Maiden told them not to use that name or they'd sue them.
Mother, father, come on!
Let's see. The company says it already has a slate of titles lined up, including a survival platform called Residual from a developer Orange Pixel. There might be a argument that Apogee Software, being one of an older company that has run video game businesses in the past, they might be better suited to be a publisher than just some random like company that hasn't worked in the video game industry before. But I think that's still a very big if. And if Apogee Entertainment is going to just publish indie games, then that is going to there may be very uninteresting indie games at the end of the day. I'm falling asleep. I should have streamed a couple hours earlier. Jeff Kaplan, when departing Blizzard, did name his replacement. But I don't think it really matters to mention it. That would be news. Yeah, when you look at Blizzard, it's like new leadership for Overwatch. Aaron Keller, a Blizzard veteran and founding member of the Overwatch team, will be stepping up as director. There. Just so we actually do report it. But destroy a car.
I want to get it all back.
Ladies and gentlegoats,
Feel the emptiness.
Necromancy 6, reanimate 4.
Are you in need of medicine?
Seek Matter has a Jay and Silent Bob Mall Brawl is coming to the PS4 and Xbox One on May 20th alongside a free update. I don't know if I really want to play a Jay and Silent Bob game. This does just look like a River City Ransom clone, which I think there's probably better ones out there. The problem in general with Jay and Silent Bob and the guy that plays Silent Bob anyways is he has this kind of, I hate to use the word entitled, but he has this nerd entitlement that ends up putting him in positions of influence or effect, and he just has no business being there. It's not like he has really any good opinions or ideas. Even in his own movies he makes, he doesn't have any really good ideas or concepts. The most recent ones, at least. So when I see a game like Jay and Silent Bob's Mall Brawl, I think I feel the same way about that as I did with the Angry Video Game Nerd or game or PewDiePie video game. It's just like this really isn't content that deserves to exist. It hasn't really been put through its paces. It's just been given a fast pass, as it were, because a celebrity was involved.
The uncharted desert awaits.
Right.
I'm ready for more. What do we have here?
Hit that. And then that. Then in the turn. Focus Home Interactive has acquired Stream on Studio, and they apparently are currently in active discussions with a number of other studios. So this was the developer of Space Hulk, Deathwing, and Necromundia hired Gnome. The question I would like to know more about is Focus Home Interactive is a name I recognize, but I don't know what games they've actually made. So
why would the dead need a living wage?
Then in that.
I've struck it rich. Oh, I have all the weapons.
Let's see what games. Focus Home Interactive is a French publisher, which more and more a lot of different companies around the world are acquiring other companies around the world. Let's see. They have Hired Gun, Curse of the Dead Gods, Evil West, Shady Part of Me, Warhammer Storeground, Hood, Outlaws and Fiends, Insurgency Sandstorm, Shipbreaker, Hard Space Shipbreaker, SnowRunner. There's these images want to load. Necromundia, Other Side, World War Z. The Surge. I think World War Z wasn't particularly well received. Farming Simulator 19. Vampire, not very well received. Plague, A Plague and Tale. Innocence, well received, but not perhaps purchased well. I am getting wrecked here with this deck. Let's see. Call of Cthulhu, I don't think sold particularly well. The Council, well received, but I don't think sold very well because it was released in episodes. The Surge. Well, there are some good games here, and then there's some medium games for the looks of it. I haven't even heard of this one, Shinies. Seasons of the Fall, I haven't heard that one either. Technomancer. Yeah, well, that's not a terrible collection of games. So Focus Home Interactive acquiring another company might work. Let's see. Gamatsu has a game here called Famicom Detective Club, The Missing Heir, and Famicom Detective Club, The Girl Who Stands Behind. Overview, trailers, and commercials. These look like these are either re-releases of old mystery games / visual novels, or these are new games being called Famicom. I have no reason why it would be called Famicom Detective Club, though, because the Switch is just called the Switch. So that this would almost mean that so it would almost mean that there's this long-running Famicom Detective Club series that I've just never heard of, and maybe that truly does exist, but that would be kind of shocking to me if it did. Manso also has Guilty Gear Strive, alternate colors, trailer, and details, which I don't feel like it's worth even clicking on, but yeah, seems like it's basically nothing other than some palette swaps. Let's see. Jason Schreier has confirmed the Knights of the Old Republic remake is being done by Aspire Media. Now, isn't Jason Schreier the Bloomberg reporter? It's also been confirmed by Eurogamer, who have separately heard of Aspire's involvement. So, at least there is maybe a... maybe I'm thinking of someone else. I must be thinking of someone else because Jason Schreier does not strike me. Like, why would you quote the news reporter? Let's see. No, he is a journalist. Yeah. Journalist. He worked as a news reporter for Kotaku before then. Yeah. It's weird to make a journalist the source of information, and that does just show the lack of, like, professionalism in video game journalism in general. Let's see. He also wrote a book called Blood, Sweat, and Pixels, and a book called Press Reset, Ruin, and Recovery. Yeah, it's weird to use him as the source. YouTube is looking for a gaming program manager if you want to live in LA and you want to work for YouTube. Or New York or San Bruno. But they want you to have a bachelor's degree and 6 years relevant program management experience and 6 years experience in the analytical role. Experiencing generating reports using SQL, Business Intelligent Platform Data Studio, never heard of that, or similar query language. Experience working alongside legal drafting agreement terms, which that's unlikely that people would have both of those. Passion for gaming and understanding of trends of the industry, and proficient in Google Slides, the ability to create compelling narratives. So do you have to show Susan Wojcicki everything in slideshow format, I wonder? So here's the problem, though, with any of this is, sure, you might get someone good to work at Google and try and improve Google and YouTube to be a little bit better for video game streamers in general. But they're only gonna hire people that are a cultural fit, which means flaming SJW in New York or flaming SJW in Los Angeles. And even if you secretly snuck in and you weren't the biggest of the biggest flaming of SJWs, let's just say you were a fairly normal, average liberal, you still probably would have to pretend to be a flaming SJW, and any move or change you try to make to not push social agendas that often get pushed by flaming SJWs would be stifled immediately.
It won't be long now.
Or, you know what? Drop the whole SJW thing. Let's say you go in there and you just try to improve YouTube in any way whatsoever. There's a high chance you get stifled in general because it doesn't make money. YouTube now doesn't make money. Anything that you have to do to make YouTube potentially successful is not going to make money. You're going to have to wait a good decade, I would imagine, to reestablish YouTube as the place to be and the place everyone wants to be before you could even start to try a monetization method. The thing to do to fix YouTube is to get rid of the double ads, and get rid of the algorithm that is promoting watch time and promoting video to put ads behind. And frankly, we just need like a governmental PBS equivalent that is a YouTube where, like, I would be alright. After some trepidation, I'd be alright with putting my videos on a government equivalent of PBS that's a YouTube type service. Like, I would wait a little bit, but I think that's where things probably would have to go, is that it would have to be publicly funded, so it was like free speech platform by law. And if it turns out that the NSA is scanning every single video on this digital PBS YouTube competitor, it probably doesn't matter anyways, because if the NSA was going to do that, they probably are already doing that with every single YouTube video. Plus, I feel like if a PBS YouTube competitor did kind of exist, the footage probably could never be deleted. It would have to probably be maintained by the Library of Congress forever. Whereas at any point YouTube itself could be shut down and all the content could go away. Anyways, moving on, we have a game called Iron Commando, which looks like an MS Paint platforming shooter game. Looks like garbage, whatever it is, English and Chinese.
Does this outfit make me look too old?
Okay.
I'll show you.
Hit that. Hit that. Play that. See, next we have a game on Steam called Silicon Dreams Cyberpunk Interrogation, which looks like it might be too much of a text-based game to interest me. But maybe not. $13.49 English and German. I'll give this a chance to put it on the follow list. It is definitely stealing from Blade Runner. Or interrogating robots. But that doesn't mean that it's bad. Okay. Might win here.
Let me find tomorrow's water pressure.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Dear Future, which is tagged as a photo editing game. It's free, but it's supposed to be online, I think. Single player, third party EULA. See. It says it's UC Santa Cruz and Playable Media capstone project. After the first season ends, the next player will inherit the camera and continue from where you left off. Yeah, this feels almost like a social experiment in the wrappings of a video game. By the time I got around to potentially playing this, I don't think I'd be interested. Honestly, this just really looks like an asset flip game more than anything else. Deal 3 damage to all people.
You look kinda hurting.
No, literally.
Let's hit this.
There is no escape from the apocalypse to come.
Did I want gold again?
Yeah, I've lost. See, next we have a game on Steam here called Flip Out, which looks like it's an attempt at a pinball game using a crab. And looks like it's pinball and Arkanoid and several, maybe another game. Yeah, that doesn't look interesting at all. $14.99. The truth is, I would have a real hard argument to buy any kind of pinball game on Steam at this point, besides the re-release of Pinball FX, because Visual Pinball being an open source software and potentially the ability to just emulate or find someone else who's already emulated old tables that are effectively abandonware at this point, you're in a weird position as far as how you would justify or define abandonware on a physical pinball cabinet. But when these cabinets only had 1,000 made in 1985, that's pretty much abandonware. Even then, like, not by modern standards, not when you see games do well when they sell 500,000 units. It's a lot easier to sell 5,000 digital copies of a video game than it is 5,000 units of a physically built pinball table. But also, with the exception of Stern, every other video game company that had made pinball tables in the past is out of business. So it really is just some holding company that is holding the rights to a pinball table, if anybody is actually holding the rights to a pinball table. Like, arguably, all of pinball, with the exception of the very brand new tables, was abandoned in the 90s, late 90s, when it collapsed. And it would be, if you took it a few hundred years back, it'd be really funny if somebody tried to claim that they owned, like, the copyright to the concept of a pool table, or the numbers on a pool ball, or a pool stick, or anything like that. And arguably, without having copyright, society was much better benefited by pool existing and people being able to play pool than a single company stopping people from building pool tables. That's probably about the closest comparison you can make. It is a weird scenario, certainly. Like, if the Model A car, if you tried to build one from scratch right now, would Ford really try and stop you? Would Ford really have the rights to try and stop you as far as a copyright claim? I mean, should Ford have a copyright on the Model A car? I think most people would argue no, they shouldn't. Whereas Ford obviously would argue the opposite. Anyways, back to video games. Bakery Shop Simulator. Well, this does look pretty, and they've asset flipped a lot of bakery goods. It's probably not as many bakery goods as you'd need. This is still just a simulator of doing someone's job. For $12.74, a bunch of languages. I also feel like you almost need an algorithm to decorate bakery and pastries, so it's more randomized instead of looking exactly the same. But that's a level of detail you would only really need in a simulation of bakery shop. It's not something you would need in just the general depiction of a pastry in a video game. So there's no real reason why anybody would engineer an algorithm like that until we had a whole lot more video RAM to load textures into or procedurally generate things in. Well, this next game is not YouTube family friendly. There's a lot of anime girls showing a lot of skin and scantily clad clothes showing their underwear or outfits that are very close to underwear. I can tell you that the name of the game is Sphera, S-P-H-E-R-I-A apostrophe S. Sphera's familiar. There's a big boobed anime girl here called Sphera. And it looks like it is mostly an RPG game, but it is definitely promising a lot as far as adult content. And seeing this released on Steam once again resets the clock as far as what Steam, thinking Steam might take less of an open free speech stance on content like this. One of the characters, the name is Zelda. Oh, that is a story worth mentioning. And there's a YouTuber who's a copyright lawyer, and he covered it, but somebody on PayPal, Etsy, or DeviantArt, I think it was Etsy, was either making a marital aid / dildo that was inspired by Super Mario Bros. Bowser, in the sense that it had a spike collar and it was very long, thick, and veiny, and looked like it would be at the level of size and aggression that you would expect from Bowser. Although that's about it. And apparently Nintendo tried to claim copyright on that, and the YouTube lawyer explained very nicely how more than likely Nintendo does not and cannot have a copyright on Bowser as a character. They might be able to have a copyright on a specific image, but there's never been an image officially made by Nintendo of Bowser's genitalia, and this was a detached depiction of genitalia, so too bad. They might have a trademark, but they would only have a trademark in the categories of like software and video games, not in marital aids or adult toys as a trademark. There's no market confusion there. In fact, there's nobody in their right minds that would actually be confused that a marital aid designed to look like Bowser would be anything other than parody, and not made by Nintendo themselves. So, yeah. That being said, PayPal still took it down because money talks, and the law is really just a suggestion for poor people. And inherently, that also creates the Streisand effect, where now more people are going to be talking about Bowser's dong than would have ever even heard about it or known about it before that point. And yeah, it's kind of Nintendo in a nutshell. We've seen that with the Bowsette concept too, where they voiced publicly their displeasure in the idea of a Bowsette character, and then that only increased the number of fan creations of Bowsette. Moving on, we have a game on Steam called Crazy Indian, which may not be appropriate in 2021 to use as a title. It looks like it's a fairly generic platforming game. It doesn't look particularly interesting. 59 cents, English only. Yeah, not seeing anything there of interest. Let's see. Gematsu has Story of Seasons, Pioneer of Olive Town DLC trailer for April 2021. Which, okay. Marvelous Entertainment. The animation style on the stills is not quite connected to the CG animation style of the game itself. It's a weird animation style because it's kind of halfway towards that chibi animation style and halfway towards more of a standard 3D anime character.
I long for you.
Moving on, Yu-Gi-Oh! Rush Duels Psycho Battle Royale has first details and screenshots. I did hear that apparently there's a major rush of scalpers buying Pokemon cards these days. Apparently the bottom fell out of sneaker scalping. So now might be the great time to bring out some more Yu-Gi-Oh! And other collectible card games to ride a potential wave of new fans of
There is no escape from the apocalypse to come.
collectible card games. I imagine kids are also fairly bored at the moment, so I could see them getting into collectible card games as a new pastime. Let's see, Gematsu has the Famitsu review scores for issue 1690. Apparently, Deus Beyond Chaos for the PlayStation 4 VR is given 36 out of 40. Maybe PlayStation VR games are reviewed a little bit higher because there's less competition. Whereas R-Type 2 for the PS4 and Xbox One and Switch was given 31 out of 40. Not a lot of competition. Yeah, it does not really feel like Japan is back in the business, really, as far as video games, and I would say the West is not back in business as far as video games either. A fantasy narrative game called Grotto has been announced for PS4, Xbox One, Switch, PC, and iOS. Just about everything. Apple announced some new hardware, but I don't feel like Apple new hardware has anything to do with video games, in all honesty. Grotto here might be good, and that teaser really didn't show enough for me to be able to tell.
The uncharted desert awaits.
Right. Okay.
You disappoint me. His grave.
Well, I gotta win.
I did it! I won!
So I may be done with that. So now we're kind of just needing ranked victories. And if we just need ranked victories, we can potentially just play Fairy, which is an easier deck for me to play. Meanwhile, while that's loading, we have a game on Steam called Gladiator, which is yet another gladiator arena simulator. Although this one looks visually polished a little bit better, I still don't feel like there's a video game there as a concept. 1124, English, German, Turkish. Doesn't require VR, single player only. Yeah. Yeah, but if I'm not going to play a sword and shield game, because I don't think there's enough of an interesting gameplay mechanic, I'm definitely not going to play a arena sword and shield game. Like that game For Honor, for instance. They put a lot of polish into that, and they tried really hard to make that something that worked, and it still really didn't. Ranked, a victory in arena, 2 victories in arena. Well, we've got another arena run because this thing resets at the weirdest time. Let's just try the Haven tournament again. On Steam, we've got a game that's all in Asian text. It looks like it's just an RPG game. Although I don't know if it really is made with RPG Maker. $2.39, Chinese only. Doesn't look terrible, but of course I can't cover it if it's not in English. Gametsu has Almighty Kill Your Gods launching early access on PC on May 5th. Which, do we have a trailer? No. But we do have a Steam account, so we'll just jump over here and look at it over here. Looks like there might be something to this, but it also might not work well at all. Online co-op with a third-party agreement and a third-party account. Seems like that is asking quite a lot. And it kind of feels like it is a Monster Hunter / Code Vein type game where you're just running around open fields fighting giant creatures, and that is what Code Vein was, and people really didn't care. There was also God Eater, is another game series that would be in about that same concept. Let's see, Gamatsu has Necromundia Hired Gun Enter the Hive trailer. This is the Warhammer game where they're all dressed like they are wasps in yellow outfits. There might be something to this game. Unfortunately, I just don't have a lot of faith in it at the moment because every Warhammer game up until this point has kind of sucked. So this one really would have to buck a trend. Here we have a game on Steam called the ER Patient Typhoon. It seems like you're playing as these armless monster creatures. Wake up with missing body parts. $10.99, English only. That's a little expensive. But I'm gonna put it on the fall list just to see if the idea of missing body parts and body horror could actually be implemented and created in a game like this. Arguably, this is kind of like that game Corpse Party, but zoomed in more, and that concept probably would actually help if the Corpse Party series was remade and done better. But also there's an argument that only the first Corpse Party game is even worth playing, and I'm not sure I even believe that. Next we have a game on Steam called Infinity Zigzag, which we haven't seen a game like this in a long time, where you just are clicking to stay within the boxes, turning left and right automatically by click. 59 cents. Yep, that really is a blast from the past. But that, of course, isn't a game actually worth playing. Next we have the Far Kingdom Hidden Magic, which is just a hidden object game from HH Games, so it should be about $5, $4.49, English full audio, way cheaper than the $12 that Big Fish Games always asks. A game called Retro Machina launches May 12th. Do we have a trailer here? Looks like it's a platforming kind of Bastion style game, isometric. I assume you're gonna fight people and hack and slash at people. Maybe not. Maybe you're doing more puzzle mechanics and just controlling things. Yeah, there's a little bit of fighting too. Yeah, that looks interesting. It's coming to the PC, PS4, Switch, and Xbox One.
Smiles are the best medicine.
And do I want to evolve? Or do I want to heal?
Just as well.
Let's see. A game called The Longest Road for PC and smartphone launches May 20th. Which seems to be anthropomorphic animals drawn in a very unique pencil sketch style. I don't know how that style translates into actual gameplay though. Narrated by song, and it is just like pixely. This might work. It at the very least looks different. So since this already has a Steam listing, I'll put it on the fall list. Different is always appreciated. Okay. Can I do anything to save myself?
Other dimensions beckon.
My blade is your salvation.
Probably shouldn't have evolved that, but whatever. Yeah, we have a game on Steam called World Splitter, which we've seen several games with this concept, and so far we have yet to see one that actually caught my attention. Frankly, I think there are 2 or 3 of them. They're still in development. 1999, bunch of languages. I'll give it a follow. I have no idea when I would do a follow list cleanup. I'm thinking maybe December for 2021. Arguably further than that, a whole year and a half, because the list won't really be that big. Next we have a game on Steam called Super Met Boy, which looks like it's a platforming game. kind of player versus player focused. It looks like it's pretty generic, $7.99, and it has the inherent problem of trying to create name confusion for Super Meat Boy, and I can't really just ignore that.
There is not a soul without sin. Wings of light, show your might. Punish the wicked, spare the innocent.
There we go. And hit that.
You're in good hands.
And in the turn. So yeah, I don't think Super Meat Boy deserves to be on the fall list. Next we have Quest for Karinith, which feels a little too asset flippy. I kind of like the animation style of this guy, but this guy doesn't look that good. It's a little too dark. Looks like you're just crawling around the same dark dungeons, swinging hammers and grinding. Seems like you do some mining and forging also. $12.74, English only. Yeah, I just don't think there's enough visual polish there. Next we have a game called Laser Shoots, which looks like nothing. Player versus player laser shooting, top-down twin stick shooting, free to play, online PvP.
System interface subroutine.
Let's see. If we destroy I think we want to put that on the field.
I will rise.
And then I think we want to do this. And then attack there, and attack there. Next we have a game called Nightmare Zone, which looks like it is just an asset flip horror game for $5.39, English full audio. See. Gametsu has Test Drive Unlimited. Solar Crown has been confirmed for the PS5, Xbox Series, PS4, Xbox One, Switch, and PC. What? And then Samurai Gun 2 launches in early access for PC this summer. Which, what is Samurai Gun 2? Well, that looks like an NES game. I just don't think I could ever get into that art style. That looks very, very weird. Right. We can play this. We can play this. And in return. Let's see.
I have a mission.
Yeah, I almost didn't even open this tab. Just got wrecked by 10 damage. Yeah, I almost didn't even open this because I'm just so not interested in Life is Strange, True Colors, or otherwise. So the opening sequences here, or Alex's opening scene, I guess you could jump through it, but seems like she is just emoting and talking to the screen, and that's all it is. Yeah. And it's like, the subtitle here is, protagonist Alice Chin speaks to her social worker about her time in foster care and her new life ahead of her. Which, yeah, it just feels like yet another story that's being told by people who didn't have that experience. And aren't smart enough to research that experience or write that experience. I think we didn't talk about this yet. There's a report that Sony could be about to announce a PlayStation Plus Video Pass. Let's see. What does that mean, though? Scrapping media rentals and purchase in favor of a possible streaming package, I guess. I can't imagine anybody really wanting to do that through Sony PlayStation at this point. When they just, like, had to backtrack shutting down the whole service. Like, why would you even shut down a service if you were on the verge of announcing another service? That does not inspire confidence by any means. Moving on, since that's just a rumor, Shadow Man Remastered review from TechRaptor, which I'll be interested to hear what they have to say, although in all actuality, I don't think anything they say would convince me to not want to play this game eventually. Some of this stuff is that extra content. They gave it a 6.5. Shadow Man Remastered infuriates as often as it delights, but it's a solid experience, and Night Dive has done an excellent job preserving it. I feel like a lot of the criticism is the actual game itself, which in all fairness, I totally could see that. I could see myself playing Shadow Man and not being super happy with it. The pros are rewarding exploration, good visuals, and organic platforming focus. Cons are confusing, labyrinthian level design, which I recall that was the case originally. So that is, I think, true to nature. Terrible combat, almost certainly the case. And poorly balanced upgrades, which, yeah, there was probably some of that too. So, it would really suck to purchase Shadow Man and then rage quit it, but also I know what I'm getting into. It is almost on the same level if I was to play Super Mario 64. If that came to PC, I wouldn't be surprised if I kind of rage quit it before I tried to get all 120 stars. Because there are some frustrating elements to old Nintendo 64 games and old games of that era in general. Next we have a game on Steam here called Power Washer Hero. There's a lot of Power Washer porn on there's a Reddit called Power Washing Porn, where it's people power washing decks and such. So I could see the idea of making a virtual version of that, but honestly, why? Why even spend $2.99 to virtually power wash something when you could probably just walk up and down a average city housing block and just say, hey, do you want me to power wash anything for free? If you're that into power washing, you could pretty much power wash people's fences and stuff perfectly for tips or just for fun. Or you could keep it within your own house and power wash something probably once a month, and you would get your fill of it. And I imagine it's not anywhere as fun as it looks in reality. This company I've never heard of, Handy Games, is having its 21st anniversary, which certainly that's weird. I have heard of the Townsman games, I think. And maybe I've heard of Through the Darkness of Times. El Hio. And see, this is a Steam storefront sale, but would you even be able to tell that this is Steam? Because it's all black in the background. I just had to look up at the URL bar to see that this was actually on sale. El Hio, I think, is... well, it came out in December, so 20% off is not that bad. Let's see if there's any other games here that catch my eye. Gianna Sisters, I believe that's a player versus player game for 99 cents. Rad Rogers Radical Edition. Yeah. For $3.99, that's a pretty good deal, and it's on my wish list. Safecracker is a re-release. It's mixed, but for 99 cents, that's a decent product. Neighbors from Hell at $11.99 may still be too expensive. Overclocked at $2.99. I have the original Gianna Sisters. So if I was to scroll back to Twisted Dreams, you can check that one out. Mystery of the Druids. It's mostly negative. Inling Extinct Forever coming out in 2021. That's a word you don't hear very often. And then a game called One Hand Clapping.
I've been keeping this in reserve.
So yeah, Safecracker is mixed, but at 99 cents. It's much more doable at that price. But I'm fairly certain I put this on the follow list and dismissed it. Yeah, I think the reason why it's so negatively reviewed, though, is simply because it just doesn't run. So I'd have to say no to that still. Because I'm not willing to go through major frustration on the hopes that a game might work. Seriously? Let's see. Then we have Neighbors from Hell, which is rated very positively. It's a single player game. Why is it on my follow list then? Weird. I kind of feel like I saw this game and it didn't make it to the wish list. Like, initially there were 49 negative reviews, but that was compared to like 296 positive reviews, and then big bump. Are they buying reviews? Is this the cheat, or did it go on sale in November and December? Well, I'll put that on the wish list. I can't speculate on review manipulation. If it's happening on Steam, then I'm doomed to always be influenced by that manipulation.
My blade is your salvation. Punish the wicked, spare the innocent.
Alright. And then the next game that caught my interest was called Overclocked, which looks like a point-and-click adventure from 2008. Haven't heard of it, but it's mostly positive. It's $2.99 right now, and at that price I can't say anything other than put it on the follow the wish list. And then Gianna's Sister's Twisted Dream is like, I think, kind of a frustration platform, but it might get a pass. Let's see, single player only. Once again, 99 cents. At that price point, knowing that these games can go to that price point, and inherently this is the problem, because I'm establishing new rules that say effectively, if a game can be at a cheaper price point, I'm willing to put it on the wish list, where in the past I was only putting games that really, regardless of the price, caught my attention and I wanted to actually cover. But I suppose one is entitled to change their standards, and that may change fairly often for me. Next we have the game Inling, which looks like you're a fox trying to survive in a wasteland.
By your will, O Lord.
It's not out yet. Does look interesting though, so I'll put it on the follow list. Restore 3 defense at the end of the turn, or do 6 damage.
Well, on to the next project. Is that how you treat a lady?
Hit that. Gamatsu has the Great Ace Attorney Chronicles have been announced for PS4, Switch, and PC. That's the Greatest Ace Attorney 1 and 2. Which these are like including, I believe, Sherlock Holmes, and these are before Ace Attorney. This is like the generation before Ace Attorney. It's the same kind of game, but it's not set in modern time. Which that may feel a little weird for a lot of people, and Westerners in particular. Let's go ahead and hit this. And that killed that.
There is not a soul without sin.
Do that.
Winds of light, show your might. Punish the wicked.
Hit
Let
that.
judgment fall. Well, that's too bad.
And what else? Go ahead and play that. Do one heal again. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has a report here. According to a report, Discord is no longer in acquisition talks with Microsoft. That makes a lot of sense that wouldn't have gone through regardless. I seriously doubt they would have been allowed to acquire Discord after also acquiring Mixer and then shutting that down and owning Skype and owning Teams. Like that, there's just straight up monopolistic insanity being allowed to be done on the behalf of Microsoft.
I will save you no matter the cost. Punish the wicked. Spare the innocent.
Is that how you treat a lady?
Let's see. Gamatsu has Ruby Grim Eclipse Definitive Edition gameplay trailer. So this must be a re-release of Grim Eclipse. I really have a hard time thinking that Ruby, as a American anime or animation inspired by anime, story. I don't think it's really relevant. I don't know if it ever was relevant. So, yeah. I don't know if a definitive edition of this game really is going to catch anybody's attention.
So long as there is light.
Honestly, I feel like a lot of people have never even heard of Ruby, which is probably for the better. I also did see a story, but I won't be able to report it correctly, that one of the World of Warcraft voice actors was accused of doing something inappropriate, and his lines of dialogue are likely to be changed in World of Warcraft. I think that's the story that I heard, but honestly, stories like that happen so often that it's probably not even worth mentioning them until actual decisions have been made, actual court cases have been filed and started, actual police reports have been filled in.
I won't let my sins define me.
Next, we have a game on Steam called Timeless Adventure: A Journey to Begin, which looks like it's a point-and-click game, and it just doesn't look visually polished enough. It's coming soon. Yeah. It's not even out yet. Let's see. TechRaptor has a review for the game Poison Control. We saw talks of Poison Control here and there, little bits of trailers, but never got a consistent push as far as advertisement. It looks like a Persona style clone. TechRaptor gave it a 6.0, which they're starting to review games at lower, which either means games are getting worse or they're expanding their range. It's a quick run and gun game with little roaming and lots of exposition. Pros are colorful world, fast to play and go, run and gun action. Cons, a finicky aiming in a shooter game, very little exploration, intruding narration. So they didn't like it, and I don't have any real reason to doubt them. OpenCritic has an article here. Aliens Fireteam is getting a prequel novel, which I guess that's video game related, because I assume Aliens Fireteam was a video game. OpenCritic also has an article here. Free-to-play games on Xbox are now truly free, in the sense that you no longer need the Xbox Live Gold membership. And so here's a long list of free-to-play games that you can play. Some of these, like Crackdown and Crackdown 2, have single-player content that I assume you have to own them. If anything, it feels like... How many people even own 2 Human, though? That's kind of silly that would even be listed. Like, the game that's not legally allowed to be sold somehow lets you play it online for free. Looking at this list, Pinball FX2, not Pinball FX3, Path of Exile, there's not a lot of games here that seem like they would be heavily on data use or heavily played, but then Call of Duty Warzone kind of is. Dead or Alive 6 Core Fighters kind of is. I feel like Family Game Night kind of is. Or could be. Resident Evil Revelations 2, maybe, maybe not. So yeah, but Microsoft went in the direction that we knew they were going to go into, and that they announced they were going to go into, and are furthering the idea that you should either have Game Pass Ultimate to get the games too, or you should not have anything because you don't really need anything to play the games online. And that moves them slightly closer, but not quite there as far as the ability to play games online on PC, which has always been free.
It looks like I'm up.
For instance, look at Steam. Steam only gets money off of me when I buy new games. They only get a 30% cut, or something around 30% when I buy new games. Otherwise, they don't get anything. And when I'm playing Shadowverse, for instance, on Steam, and using all the server bandwidth between Shadowverse and Steam, whoever's running that service, they are doing that completely for free, just in the hope that I will spend some money at some point. And that was the case even when they first introduced Xbox. Xbox Live. It was very weird that they were charging and they were allowed to get away with that in the first place, because it didn't even make sense back then. It's like you're paying for a second internet service provider without being provided an actual internet service on top of that, and only being provided and having to use your own internet connection anyways. The next step to take it, I guess, would be the question about when are we going to potentially get in a scenario where people just give us free internet without having to pay Verizon or AT&T or whatever ISP you have a large amount of money to connect to the internet every month, because that would be very nice to get something free, even if it wasn't particularly the fastest internet. And some people can get that, but very few. Okay, we can play this, and then do this, and do this.
So, you withstood it all.
And then hope this works.
You're in good hands.
See, next we have a game on Steam called Ultra Bushwick, which looks like just a mess of neon paint. $4.99, English only.
No way!
Moving on, Gametsu has Ninja Gaiden Master Collection action trailer, which couldn't even make out what this picture is. It's like Ninja Gaiden tearing apart some kind of monster. Rated M for mature. I feel like some of the older Ninja Gaiden games may feel brutal to play, so I kind of would hope that a button masher could get away with actually succeeding in a new Ninja Gaiden series. But we also have like Devil May Cry games where there is actual challenge around the gameplay, and you actually will not succeed if you just button mash. Right.
There is not a soul without sin. My blade is your salvation.
Oh.
Punish the wicked. Spare the innocent. Let judgment fall.
Guess hit that. We'll go ahead and play that.
Lift some heavy scriptures. Harder, faster, holier.
Myst is on sale for Oculus as the deal of the day for the Oculus Store, if you're interested in that and have the Oculus Store. Apparently World of Warcraft is testing a chat filter, which would because like your message has, I suppose, naughty words in it, would be my guess. Let's see. A game called Samurai Gun 2 is... that's how I heard about Samurai Gun 2, is that Double Fine retweeted them and promoted them. Which, yeah, that was weird. It was a weird game. And it's weird that Double Fine would just tweet out and support somebody else when there is Microsoft being involved at that point too. Right.
There is not a soul without sin.
Let's hope this works.
Winds of light, show your might. Punish the wicked, spare the innocent.
Okay. Hit this. And hit that.
Let judgment fall.
Then hit that. Next we have a game on Steam called Blood of Darkness, which looks like it's just a platformer. Kind of looks like it's all over the place. $1.69 English and Russian. Some of these games we may have already talked about. Like, here we have a game called Bridge to Code, which we may not have talked about, but also looks like terrible. It's free, English only.
I shall give birth to a new world.
Alright.
Thus,
Smack that.
So, you withstood it all.
And then smack that.
Where I truly shine.
And then restore to there.
Keeps the doctor away.
And what do we want to do? In the turn.
I shall give
Let's see.
birth.
Next we have a game on Steam called Broken Dungeon, which looks like it's some dark screenshot syndrome with a dungeon crawler. Early access $14.99, English, allegedly full audio.
The world cycles on.
Next we have a game called Sleeping with Death, which is a top-down twin-stick shooter for 99 cents. Now I can see the beginning of the end. So at this point, it probably doesn't make any sense for me not to cover all the video game news today. Well, 2 hours and 13 minutes into the stream. Plus we have an arena I think we're in the middle of. But if today were Friday, I would just cover the rest of the video game news and ignore the games that were released on Steam. That's my plan. At the moment, at least. Okay, how many missions do we have now? 4 ranked matches. I think it'd be fairly hard to get 4 ranked matches. But if I get one more victory here, I'll make it into the finals, which would be nice. Here we have a game on Steam called Voodoo Kid that looks like a point-and-click adventure. Looks kind of old, but it says it's brand new. But I'm willing to put it on the follow list anyways. $5.99 English, French, German, and Spanish. So, yeah, we'll give it a chance and see how the response is. Gamma Sutra has the simplest trailer to make for your Steam page, which
A dazzling victory awaits.
You dumb beast! I'll burn you alive!
which talks about, I guess, what a trailer should be, which I imagine game developers probably do need help on that level, because there is a decent number of trailers I've seen on Steam that are pretty bad. Let's see, Commencer has Ford Works, Microsoft Japan, and Tsubasa Honda announced an asymmetrical multiplayer game called Neoroko for iOS and Android. Neoroko. Or Rocco. This looks weird. Yes, this definitely looks like a weird collection of like mini games. It's funny to see Microsoft Japan involved in that, but only in the fact that Microsoft Japan should probably be involved in a lot of things, just to fund things and get good press, and they're not involved. It's the first time I've ever even heard Microsoft Japan ever mentioned. To the point where I did not know there was a Microsoft Japan. I would have thought it would have just been Microsoft. Let's see, Gemetzer has an article. An atmospheric puzzle adventure game, Blueprints, has been announced for PC. Do we have a trailer? We do, but it's not a YouTube video. Interesting. Which, honestly, that might be better. Not having ads pop up at the end. It would probably be appreciated. It's probably like a Vimeo. It does look like a puzzle adventure game. Okay, that looks cool. I'll look forward to it coming out. Next, we have a game on Steam called Two Legs, which is just a frustration platformer that looks terrible. $1.94. Bunch of languages allegedly supported. Yep. Let's do this. And then in the turn. Next, we have a game on Steam called Underwater Life, which just looks like an aquarium simulator for $5.99, English and Russian. Right. So we want this gone. Do we destroy it to make sure it's gone? Or do we do something else? Next, we have a game on Steam called Retro Tank Party. This is just tanks in poorly designed, poorly drawn. $1.59 with the third-party account. I have about 15 more tabs. Next, here we have a game called Loving You Fully, which apparently is a visual novel about body positivity and learning to love yourself. Which, you know, ain't well written. This could be good. Poorly written. This is just flamboyant SJW nonsense. And I have to say, when you put someone this, clinically speaking, morbidly obese in this kind of outfit, it does not flatter their body shape at all. There's just no way to get to that. That is not the kind of clothing you want. You can look good, certainly, without immediately needing to lose the 150 pounds you probably, someone that size probably would need to lose. And I know that certainly is a hard, often impossible ask. But dressing that way doesn't help anything if you're trying to look good. It's just bad fashion. Of course, then you could also go from the perspective of like nudist, and honestly, a character like this would probably look better nude in general than this outfit. What you would want to do is find something that actually highlights the head. So probably would want, I'm not going to say a muumuu or anything like that because that doesn't look good, but a long flowing dress, very nice, very sharp, vertical lines, often are perceived as slimming, or at least conceived as slimming, even if they aren't actually perceived. You probably would want to accentuate a neckline here. Part of the problem here is this is like, for a very large woman, this is doing her no favors in the cleavage and bust line. You would want to de-emphasize the stomach and weight, unless you just are all about that being big lifestyle, and you're happy and want to show off that you're big. Then that outfit, I suppose, kind of would work in that way. There is a element of SJWs that do promote any weight is healthy, and it's just not the case. Like ironically, this dress on the previous woman would be much more appropriate. Get rid of the sleeves. Sleeves are too long, but something that has a plunging neckline, emphasizes the head, de-emphasizes the hip, and maybe de-emphasizes the butt. She doesn't look particularly any better in the sweater. But yeah, there is some ridiculousness that all sizes are healthy. No, it isn't. Some sizes that are larger might be healthy for some people, but definitely not everybody. Okay. Can I pull this off? The bigger problem of this video game, beyond its kind of potentially ridiculous story, is that it is a 30-minute visual novel, which is way too short. And yeah, you should learn to love yourself, certainly, but part of you loving yourself is trying your very best, if at all possible, to not end up being unhealthy, whether that's because you're overweight or because you don't exercise, or you don't get enough sun, even. So yeah, you wouldn't allow somebody to cause themselves to have scurvy because they're not getting enough vitamin C. Moving on, we have Gnome Gardens: Return of the Queen, which just looks like one of those resource management games. $2.99. It does kind of seem like it's a little crazy that there are visual novels more and more often coming out that are pushing extreme SJW liberal nonsense. Whereas we have seen no game allowed on Steam that would push like anti-vaxxing or right-wing concepts. Like that has absolutely not been allowed. And thank goodness for that. Okay. Can I pull this off? This doesn't stack.
I will rise.
This doesn't stack.
Thus
This
the world ends.
can kill that. Then this would have to evolve.
Beams of light, show your might. Faith is an expensive business.
And then what do we want to do?
No, the smiles are not free.
That.
Feel free to call on me again.
The world cycles on.
Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam called Inside Soccer, which looks like total garbage. I don't even know why you would make a virtual game where you have to play inside soccer instead of just playing soccer outside. $7.99 is ridiculously expensive too for that garbage. Let's see. Gemetzer has Bit Summit. The 8th bit is set for September 2nd to the 3rd, which must be a video game presentation announcement. We shall see what kind of games are actually depicted here, but here we have. There we go, got another victory. Nice. And I wouldn't have thought that the game would have had. Ooh, fancy. We advanced to the final stage. I wouldn't think that Shadowverse would have allowed a character to say "kiss my ash." That's too close to being inappropriate for kids. Well, reward for the next win looks like an even bigger chest, so heck, let's take it. Getting back to this though, here you have a anime girl sitting on, wearing a kimono, sitting on an octopus with an octopus over her shoulder playing a game, and they're holding all kinds of different controllers. Which oddly there is an Xbox controller being depicted here, and I don't see a PlayStation 5 controller. I see a black and white, a black PlayStation controller, and it is lower than the Xbox controller. And then you have like an ancient depiction of a Japanese man playing the Switch 2. So, interesting choice of art. Let's see. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Deadluck, which looks like it's just a low-effort shoot 'em up for $1.19, English only. Let's see. Go ahead and play that. In the turn. Here we have a game on Steam called the Suez Canal Simulator, which this almost certainly is a joke troll game. $47.99, English only. Way, way too expensive. Next, we have a game called Cards and Tankards, which looks like it's a VR card collecting or deck building game with figurines, which having to be in VR really makes no sense at all. Early access, free to play, with in-app purchases, single player and online PvP. Yeah, I don't see any reason why. You might have a VR mode for your card game, but more than likely you need to just get your card game to become super popular first and foremost. Like, I would understand if Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone had a VR mode. I wouldn't understand if Shadowverse or Yu-Gi-Oh! Or any other card game of lesser relevancy had a VR mode. Next, we have a game on Steam here called Crazy Gravity, where seemingly you jump below. We've seen several games with crazy gravity mechanics, and this one looks like a frustration platformer, so I'm not interested in it. $1.99, English allegedly, full audio. So, do that. And in the turn. Square Enix is going to make announcements at E3 in 2021, so they have announced that they're going to make announcements. They've made an announcement for announcements. Let's see. Play this. And I guess leave everything else because I can't do anything else.
Quartz has come in every shade imaginable.
Gematsu has Wings of Darkness for the PC, PS4, and Switch going gold. Wings of Darkness looks like it's a mech game. 3D shooter, high-speed 3D shooter, due out June 3rd. Alright. Like that.
The best medicine.
See, here we have a game on Steam called Don't Forget Me, which looks like it's a point-and-click pixely game. Might be good, it might be nothing. $13.49, several languages. I'll stick it on the fall list. Next we have another Tanks game, Tanks and Labyrinth, which looks even worse than the other Tanks game. 99 cents. Actually, I'm not sure. This may actually look better than the other one. It's hard to compare two games. They both look pretty terrible. Okay. Play that.
The zenith. For there I will rise.
And then... Oh, I should have healed that. That would have made way more sense.
No, the smiles are not free. Unbelievable.
Let's see. Gematsu has Song of Horror for the PS4 and Xbox One, launching May 28th, which is on Steam. It could be a horror asset flip game, but I don't think it is, because very rarely do you see people walking around and multiple people walking around.
Feel free to call on me again.
It won't be long
Yeah,
now.
this looks like a real game.
Oh my gosh, so many crystals.
Let's check it on Switch.
All is an illusion.
Yeah, Song of Horror Complete Edition is on my wish list. Came out October 13th, 31st, 2019. So now it's coming out for more platforms. Interesting. This is the only publisher I've ever seen that has a emoji around it. Its name. Okay. What do we want to do? Restore 3. Defense to the leader. Yeah, let's do that. End of turn.
Prominent.
Restore health.
At last.
We're getting news about Nier Replicant almost every day. Attract mode version Nier Gestalt trailer
Ready to summon.
is available.
A full frontal attack.
You can see Nier Replicant is coming out on Steam, so it's not the mobile game. So I might as well just put it on the follow list now since it's such a big title. Then I can at least remind myself I've already talked about Near Replicant multiple times.
Each person has a wavelength all
Next we have a game on Steam called Mask Maker, which looks like some kind of VR game where you make masks and solve some other kinds of puzzles. $19.99, English, French, and German. Unfortunately, I can put it on the follow list because it's a VR game, but it's never gonna leave the follow list. Alright, well, let's do this. And then that. Do it. Just go ahead in the turn. A game called In Sound Mind launches August 3rd for the PC, PS5, Switch, and Xbox Series, which looks like another horror game. See, it almost feels like a game called In Sound Mind should be some kind of horror focused around the idea of sound, scaring you more than even visuals.
I'm through.
Well, that does look interesting.
So long as there is light.
And I am very, very happy with this outcome. I mean, there's literally only one thing that could have happened different here that would have been better, and that would have been a full 5-win game. Which there is an advancement in the game for getting 5 wins in Arena, I believe. 40 gold and 2 packs. Doesn't really feel like much of a reward there for 4 wins. And that just gets me into the... Let's see. I've qualified for Group B final stage. So, yay. And that's nice and all, but I guess I could keep on playing if I wanted to. See, somewhere around here, there is win 5 games, I think, in Arena. Win 5 take 2 matches, win all 5 take 2 matches 3 times, wins 20 open 6 matches, win all 5 open 6 matches 3 times. No, I guess there isn't actually an Arena 5 wins that you have to worry about. And so then I would be now stuck just trying to get ranked wins, and I don't see any reason to try for ranked win. And the irony here is I really don't have free time to play in Arena, so the final day of Arena tomorrow or Friday, I may not even bother to play. And Darkness over Velsar. We need to look and see if now is the time to open those cards, or if we have pretty much everything and we should wait till there's a new expansion. Let's see. We have like... If we have one of everything, that's all that really matters. This would be a platinum. And this would be a platinum. And this would be something we could get. And this is platinum. That's something we could get. That's a platinum. It's a platinum. That's something we can get. So there's about 3 cards that I think we could get new. So if that's the case, I guess it probably isn't. Probably isn't a bad idea to just open all of these. We'll do 5. And then we'll skip. That way we can see the new things. If we got any new things. 1 new. And that was it. So there still is a possibility of 2 other new cards that we can get later. Liquefy those extras. So yeah, here's that game In Sound Mind from Modius Games, publisher, and We Create Stuff developer. Yeah, sometimes when you look at a game on Steam, the way it's depicted compared to the way Gamatsu depicts something, they're slightly different. And I'm not sure which one tends to be better or worse. See, Microsoft is building a new app store for Windows 10 and a major revitalization effort. Good luck on that. I'm not sure if the app store concept in general is going to really work on Microsoft for what it is supposed to do. Let's see. Gamatsu has Spiritfarer sales of top 500,000 and a Lily update is now available. And then TechRaptor has an article, fans and creators celebrate the 15th anniversary of Mother 3. This was on the 20th. Mother 3 being the original name of a very popular game in the West and the East. What is it called in the West? Something Homeward? I think. Let's see. Gamma Sutra has predictions on Supercell's new Clash games. Because apparently they're making 3 Clash games. And boy, am I glad I'm not playing Clash Royale anymore. So I can be playing Destiny Child's Defense War, which is just basically Clash Royale. Which also I need to stop playing that game too. It's adding more content though, so it's actually getting better. See, here we have Puzzletronics Digital Infinite. And we've seen several of these move around the tiles to form an electrical circuit concept games, and I'm not sure if any of them are good, and they all seem to be from the same developer. 72 cents is not asking a lot though. TechRaptor has that same article. Spiritfarer gets a new character to celebrate 500,000 copies sold. And then we have a game on Steam called The Death of Zoe, which feels very dark screenshot syndrome. I just can't see anything there. $12.59 third-party EULA. I think I'm trying to bend over backwards and give this game a chance, and I just don't think I can do it. So then that, like, Humble Bundle is still kind of in the doghouse. They do have a new bundle. I haven't bought anything from Humble Bundle in a while. They have a Down to Earth bundle, the game Figment, and Yono for $1. Abzu, Arida, Backlands Awakening, never heard of that, and Never Alone for $11.74. And then Beyond Blue, Summer and Mara, Lost Ember. And let's see. The sliders. Still seem to be totally missing from that bundle. But that may not be the new bundle. Actually, it may be this one, New Couchless Classics bundle. Yeah, this is the new bundle. Door Kickers, Ultimate Chicken Horse, 9 Parchments, 20XX. For $10 you get War Groove, Lethal League Blaze, Biped. And then sliders on this one. Also seem to be missing. So it does kind of feel like sliders are just no longer going to be available for deciding where the money goes. See, TechRaptor has an article here. 2 Steam Lab beta tests have borne fruit. The Steam Categories feature and the Steam Playlist playtest feature are now live on the digital storefront. What is the playtest feature, though? Let's see. What is Steam Playtest? This feature was also a product of one of Valve's many beta tests. Unlike Categories, Steam Playtest feature depends on developers to set things up. Essentially, a developer can allow developers to invite players to playtest their game. That's poorly worded, but an interesting idea. But also, I don't want to have to then say this is a sponsored ad or this is a sponsored video, because I've been given special access as a YouTuber to an early access version of a game, or I've been given free access to a game in general. Okay, I'm now scrolling down my Twitter feed to see if there's any new bits of news that happened in the last 2 hours and 50 minutes. And I don't think there actually was any new news, so that's 1 feed. That's 2 feeds. Here we have a story we didn't talk about, so we should talk about that. That's 3 feeds. That's 4 feeds. Last feed. Yep, and that's 5 feeds. So we had like 1 game on what's on Steam called Uptigrad Sneaky Peeky, which looks like some kind of VR suction cup flinging game. Yeah, I really don't think that there's an actual experience here that wouldn't cause motion sickness at the very least, and doesn't look that interesting. It's free. English only. Interesting that the game itself might be called Uptigrad, and then the demo is called Sneaky Peeky. That's cutesy, but honestly, you probably should just call it demo. And then finally, we can wrap up on Bandai Namco's staff calling its California office relocation as essentially a layoff. Bandai Namco America Entertainment America is shutting down its office in Santa Clara and relocating workers into a new office in Southern California. Which, yeah, at a certain distance in the United States, I think in every state, if you are required to move more than I think it's 100 miles, and even 100 miles is really, really far, then you can just claim that you were laid off at that point, and claim what little unemployment you might get. Let's see. Bandai expects all employees to have made the switch to its new Southern California office by April 22nd, 2022 at the latest. There are apparently between 150 and 200 workers who will be affected by the mover. One person to the close to the matter says the decision was sprung upon the staff, who view this essentially like a layoff. Full-time remote working is seemingly not being floated as an option, as Bandai instead favored a hybrid online in-person work routine. Those who spoke with VentureBeat said severance and relocation plans are currently being put together. Yeah. And we're seeing that theme certainly happen with a lot of Japanese companies, even in their American offices, where people are they're doing their very best to lay people off or get rid of them one way or the other. Anyways, that's going to be it for this stream. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want a friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and gift me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.